Hey, this is Mitchell from KomodoDrone. This is going to be our getting started video for our KomodoDrone mod here. So as you know, the KomodoDrone mod is going to, it's based off of the MiruMod. It's going to allow you to use your Spektrum, JR, any DSM2 compatible radio with your AirDrone 2.0, allowing it to go up to 1,500 feet to 2,000 feet instead of your limited Wi-Fi range. It's a heck of a lot easier to control using your transmitter instead of your screen on your iPhone or your Android device. So with that being said, in this video I'm going to show you all the steps to set your transmitter up for binding it to the mod. Then we're going to go over binding it to the mod. Then I'm going to tell you how to set your transmitter up for your first flight. So with that being said, here, let's get ahead.
Okay, so now we're going to set up the transmitter for binding. So to do this, we're just going to power the transmitter on here. So you want to go ahead and set it up like you would any model. So go choose your name for your model. In our case here, I'm going to use the AR drone. You want to make sure that it's in airplane mode. This needs to be in airplane mode for the mod to work correctly here. So once you got that done, you can just go into your travel adjustment. Set your throttle to 125 positive. Set your sub trim. Now this is with the throttle stick down too, just to let you know. Now you can go ahead and set your sub trim to a negative 100. Okay, so that's basically it for binding with the DX6i. So you can go ahead now, if you have a DX6i, and go ahead and bind it to the mod. If you have a DX7, the travel adjustment is going to be throttle 150 low, sub trim throttle is going to be 125 low. If you have the Spektrum DX8, it's going to be serval travel throttle is going to be 150 low, and serval sub trim throttle is going to be 125 low.
Okay, so now that we have the transmitter set up for binding, we can actually go ahead and bind it to the KomodoDrone mod. So for this, you want to make sure that you start with your transmitter turned off. Then you want to also make sure that your bind plug is inserted into the mod itself. Now, we ship these out with the bind plug already inserted, so it should be already inserted into the mod. But if you took it out just by looking at the product, if you plug it in without it being if you plug the mod into your computer without the bind plug, it's not going to hurt your mod or your computer. It's just that it won't be able to bind to the transmitter without having the binding plug in place there. So with that being said, we can go ahead and connect the mod to the PC. Now you see the rapid red light. So now all you need to do is, the rapid red light is indicating, by the way, that the receiver is ready for binding. So all you need to do now is pull up your trainer switch, turn your transmitter on. That light's going to stop, then it's going to blink, it's going to stop again, and then go solid. Just like that. Now, with that being done, we can go ahead and turn our transmitter off, unplug the mod, point the bind plug. Now you can turn your transmitter back on, plug the mod back in, and we have a successful bind. So now in the next step, I'm going to show you how to set your transmitter up for your first flight. So with that being said, let's go ahead and do that.
Have your transmitter binded to the mod. We can go ahead and turn the transmitter back on. And now we can set the transmitter up for its first flight. So to do that, let's go into travel adjustment. Put your throttle back down to 100. Go to list, then you can go to sub trim. So you can take your sub trim for your throttle and put that back to 0. Now you can go to your flaps and you want to set that both up at positive 100. Normal is going to be at positive 100, so you're turning the wheel that way. And same thing with the land, you're going to be spinning your wheel towards that way. Okay, so you can go back to the list. Now we can set up the reverse. So you want to go to setup list, reverses. So now for the DX6i, the throttle is going to stay at neutral or at normal. The aileron is going to go reversed. The elevator is going to go reversed. The rudder is going to go reversed. The gear is going to stay at normal. And the flaps are going to stay at normal. Okay, so that's all the settings for the DX6i here. So now, if you're using the DX7, you're going to want to put your throttle adjustment back at 100. You're going to want to put your sub trim for your throttle back at 0. And your reverses on your DX7 are going to be throttle, normal, aileron, reverse, elevator, reverse, rudder, reverse, gear, reverse, flaps are going to be normal, and aux2 are going to be normal. On your DX8, you're going to want to put your servo, travel, and your throttle at 100%. Then you're going to want to put your servo sub-trim throttle at 0. And the servo reverses for the DX8 are throttle, normal, aileron, reversed, elevator, reversed, rudder, reversed, and gear, reversed. Okay, so now the transmitters are set for its first flight. We can go ahead and test the mod in the terminal. So let's go and do that.
Alright, so now we're going to set up Hyper Terminal to test the mod here. But before we do so, we need to figure out which COM port the mod is being picked up on with your PC here. So to do so, you want to go to Start, right-click Computer, go to Manage, then go to Device Manager. In there, you're going to look for ports, COM, and LPT. You want to drop down that menu. And now we see here that the mod is being picked up as COM9. So now keep that in mind because you're going to need that when you set up Hyper Terminal. So you can close out of that. Now we can open up Hyper Terminal here. So just go to the exe wherever you place that to on your PC. Double click the exe. Now you want to choose a name for your mod here. So in our case, we're going to use KomodoDrone. You can just click OK. Now make sure you're connecting using the proper COM. So in our case, it's COM9. Then you can click OK. Now the only two things you should have to change in this window is the bits per second and the flow control. So we need to change the bits per second from 2400 to 115,200, and we want to change the flow control to none. But you can still make sure that the data bits are set at 8, the parity is set at none, and the stop bits are set at 1. You can click Apply, OK. Now we want to go to File, Properties, Settings. In here, you want to go to Emulation. You want to make sure that's set to ANSIW. And you can click OK. Now just hold down Control, tap B twice, and now we're into the Hyper Terminal here. So just make sure you got connection here, which we do. So now the first thing you want to do, you want to make sure that all the inputs are set correctly. So to do that here, we're going to make sure we got the flaps set at 0, which they are. The gear set up, which they are. Now you want to bring your rudder to the right and your throttle all the way up, your aileron to the right, and your elevator all the way down. Now we should have all positive values, which we do there. Okay, so you can center everything there now. And now you want to put your gears down, and you should see the land in the bottom right hand there. Then you want to put your gears up, keep your flaps at 0, and you should see FM2, just like that. And now you want to keep your gears up, put your flaps down to 1. Now you should see FM1 on the bottom right there, just like there. And now the next step, you want to go and turn your transmitter off. Now there should be nothing in the bottom right, just like you see there. Now we can go ahead and turn the transmitter back on. Now we know that all the inputs are working correctly on the transmitter. So now with that being said, you can also go and make sure that your flat trim is going to work. So to do that, just put your gears down. Just push your rudder to the left. Make sure you see trim. And now you want to put your gears, keep your gears down there, and then put your rudder to the right. Make sure you see ESTP and land. And now you just put your aileron to the right, and you should see vid up at the top there. Now that's just going to switch your video, your cameras on your air drone for when you're recording video there. Okay, with all that done here, everything is working fine. If yours is reacting the same way, you're good to go. So all you need to do now is to turn off your transmitter. Then just remove the mod from the PC. So unplug the USB cable. Don't forget to take out the jumper that's on your take out the jumper there that we put on the mod before we done this. And then just plug your mod into your air drone, put your bottom plate on, and you're good to go. Hope you enjoy.